morning like this can be a good reminder of what Togmay Sangpo wants to share with us, and that is the possibility to relax into how your life is. But there's just more space, you travel lighter, you don't take things so personal and so serious. So a morning like this can be when you feel very crowded and suffocated and locked into your conditioning, into your patterns. And then you step out and there's space, there's the sun, there's the blue sky, there's like the freshness and the clarity of the morning. And I guess we all have had or have this experience where suddenly like a burden is lifted. And nothing changes. I mean, you still have to pay your bills and you go through the divorce or whatever it is. But there is more space. There's more space for you and for your feelings. And you see the possibility that you can relate to the crisis you're going through in a different way. And outside conditions sometimes can help us to connect with that in us. I mean, if it wouldn't be in us, we wouldn't be able to put down the burden, at least for a few hours or for a day. And it ceases to be suffering. It's still a problem, so there's still, you need to act and attend, but it ceases to be such a burden and kind of fill out your whole experience. So the blue sky, the sun can be reminders of the space we have inside. And nothing changes in a way, but everything changes. So your life completely turns, and it can turn in a moment. Yeah, so like, me, what about me? And then suddenly, there's space. You become bigger. And you connect with that which is already bigger within you. So if we then kind of feel that within that spacious beingness, there's kindness, there's love. So we bring the loving gaze into the Shenrezig, the Buddha of Compassion's loving gaze, into the space. So it's not just space, but it's loving space, it's loving awareness. The color blue is good for that. It is traditionally seen as a color symbolizing bodhicitta, the awakened heart. So let's sit quietly with what you bring with you, adjusting your posture and starting to turn your attention more towards your inner life, your body. And see if you can also stay connected with the clarity of the morning. It might be helpful to use the breath. With each in-breath sliding into the body in a light way. Softening the shoulders and the belly. Maybe you can recall the feeling you had this morning when you stepped out. So there's a sense of space and freshness. Thoughts continue to arise, but they become less important. You don't rely on them. And if you notice that you try to get rid of something or you try to get somewhere, with the out breath you relax that grasping as if you're opening a fist. And returning, resting, allowing this moment to be what it is. Let everything flow, come and go. Allow yourself to gravitate towards a place of rest, a place of contentment in the midst of your experience. Like gravitating towards the eye of the storm. And there's the sounds from outside and the sounds from inside coming and going like clouds. And you make yourself bigger than all of that. Not controlling or fixing. Meditating like the sky, the heart like the sky. And even if there's a lot of movement, maybe some of it is unpleasant or a bit difficult, tiredness, or there's something difficult happening right now in your life. So that is happening, but there is also that which is bigger than you. Or sense or glimpses of the loving space. Surrounding you, pervading you. You allow yourself to listen to the stillness or the silence, which is always there. Maybe you can even soften the body a little more in your belly, hands, shoulders, face. Returning, resting. Our heart can reach out to all the people right now who, just like us, sitting in the presence of the divine in silent prayer, all over the world. And there's always people praying for you. And then we can call upon the presence or the inspiration from the lineage, going back the centuries to Togmay Sangpo and going back to the Buddha. All the men and women who committed themselves to the Bodhisattva path. And who welcome us into their family. And they are so happy and proud. And then we take in their inspiration, their warmth, their kindness, their wisdom. And we become aware of the source of love within our own essence, the core of our being. Becoming aware of the Buddha inside, the Avalokiteshvara inside, the goddess inside. Maybe you can lay your attention lightly on your heart. Imagine that pure place, the glow of love, the glow of compassion, spreading into your body and then through the pores of your body into your surroundings. And looking and feeling into the world like a Dalai Lama. Like a Tara. A heart like the sky. Boundaryless. And that's why we're here today, to make contact with our essence, with the source of wisdom and love, also called Buddha nature. The source of your creativity and joy. So that we become a source of healing, stopping to add to the violence in the world, and instead adding love, compassion, forgiveness, wisdom. In particular, using the challenges of our life to wake up. So we have not started with the 37 practices, because there's two stanzas introducing the text in the traditional way. So yesterday I covered the intention, the homage to compassion, homage to Avalokiteshvara. So that is something we can do every day to remember. So we pay homage to compassion, homage to love. For some people it's helpful to have like a place in their home, just as a reminder of that quality inside of you, which is available at any time. It's just a matter of finding the door every day and kind of assembling a set of tools which helps you to do that, a set of reminders in a formal practice, but even more important so in daily life, in our relationship, to have a toolbox to allow this shift from self-centeredness to connectedness. So the second introductory stanza is about intention. Sometimes it's also called the promise to compose. So Togmay Sangpo writes, full awakening Buddha. So the word Buddha can be understood on different levels, and here Ken MacLeod is referring to the deepest meaning of the word Buddha, the word Buddha, and that is awakening. So it's referring to that within us which is already whole, that which is already healed and was never touched or poisoned or destroyed in any way. So that's Buddha, that's the awakened one. But here referring to the Buddha inside. So full awakening, Buddha, the source of joy and well-being. Yeah, so the source of joy and well-being is inside, the Buddha inside. This is something to really deeply ponder. If you experience the possibility that you can turn to a genuine source of joy and well-being inside. So meaning it's independent from how well your life is going. It's independent from the weather. So if the weather is the source of joy and well-being for us, then we are doomed. Because, particularly when we live in Zurich. No, I don't know about the general weather condition in Zurich, but there is areas where there's a lot of sky, like clouds. So if our life is like, oh, great weather, oh, I'm so happy. And the next day, oh, bad weather, oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I'm happy again, oh, I'm sad. Forever. It's not reliable. So what we are turning towards with this text is something which is really reliable. So that means it's simple, it's immediate, it's accessible at any time, and it does not depend on anything. It's unconditioned. And it is where all spirit tradition and an experience of that, the experience of that, the mystic experience, that's the seed, or that's where all spirit tradition started, with that kind of experience. So so what happens is that you start to lose interest in seeking genuine joy and happiness somewhere else. So it's not like you say, oh, I have to give up, or I don't do these things anymore. It's just you lose interest. It's just because, if you taste the contentment, sometimes also called bliss, but it's not like this happy ecstasy bliss. So, but it's just this deep, undisturbable happiness. So if you have a taste of that, then the values of your life completely change. Things which were important to you, they fade away, because you want to taste more of that inexhaustible joy, happiness, contentment. And it's something you need to figure out yourself. I mean, nobody can push you into that. Or sometimes people need to get into very big crisis in their life. So they are pushed by life into that which is bigger. Maybe sometimes we have not suffered enough. So we still feel it's worth to try to squeeze joy and happiness out of, good experience, of feeling good. And here feeling good in a more like superficial way, because things are going well and you feel good, we have good feelings. It's completely overrated. Feeling good is completely overrated, that kind of feeling good. Because it's not reliable, it's not stable, it comes and goes. It's so exhausting to run after feeling good. Like every day, like the next cup of tea, the next cup of coffee, like just trying to feel good. and then in the end, being there empty-handed. You can almost feel it while you drink the coffee, or you try to squeeze some nice experience out of something. It's like something is. It's not the thing. It's not what we really, what our yearning needs. But still, we continue to do it. So do you have a sense, so like just as a reflection, do you have a sense that there is the possibility of a genuine, indestructible source of joy and happiness? And when you have that sense, if you feel that calling, it's like that's what you go for in your life. Everything else becomes less important. So that's the Lama, that's the Guru. So that's Buddha, Sangha and Dharma, that's the three jewels. That's the essence of a refuge. That's what the three jewels on the deepest level are. So in Togmay Sangpo says, the source of joy and well-being. And here well-being does not need to be healthy. I mean, it has nothing to do with this is a different kind of health. So it's a kind of health you don't lose when you go through your health crisis, which we all go through. So instead of, be so worried about some health issue one has, here the invitation to make contact with that which can't get sick. And that becomes our refuge. And then using sickness for strengthening that, for becoming more established there. So instead of sickness being an obstacle, it becomes actually a stepping stone into who you really are. So when he says, full awakening comes as you master the noble way. So that's what we are doing when we study the practices, when we study the spiritual traditions here, the Tibetan tradition. So full awakening comes as you master the noble way. Because mastery depends on knowing how to practice, I now explain the practice of all Bodhisattvas. Because mastery depends on knowing how to practice. So this is what I said making it a priority to increase your toolbox, the different moves, the different gestures, which are very different for all of us because we have different backgrounds, different rhythms, different needs, different senses are more available to us. Yeah? So if you are a very visual person, or you're more a listening person, more a feeling person, so we all need different practices. Knowing how to practice, so that's like the study part, listening to teachings and making that an important thing. So what we're doing here, so you took the day off, probably you're tired and you would rather go for a walk maybe, but so you come here because you feel there's something you can learn, something valuable for your life. Knowing on how to practice and being creative, constantly, increasing your capacity to be with difficult people, difficult situations, with your own emotional reactivity. I mean, isn't that the most fascinating thing in the world? I mean, once you have understood that it's all in the mind, and that happiness is in the mind, and that your reactivity is in your mind, I mean, how could you be interested in anything else? Yeah, it's amazing that so much life's energy goes into increasing all kinds of skills and really neglecting the mind training. And it's not like, I should study and I should do this and this. It's just like to invoke this spark of curiosity in you. I don't know. For me, it was always like that. I mean, I just love, if I go to my iPhone and I look at, I want to have some entertainment. I always go to teachings. On knowing how to practice, so on knowing how you practice, not on knowing on how, I don't know, like a teacher you like, how he practiced, but knowing what are the practices, what are the texts, what are the meditations, what are the pith instructions which work for you, which give you relief, which give you the space you need. So we can't follow, in that sense, another person like step by step and doing exactly what worked for this person, because you're different. So listen to different kinds of teachers, to different kinds of tradition, and feel inside what feels good, what is meaningful, what helps you to be a kinder person, particularly starting with yourself. It happens often that we try to squeeze ourselves in ways of practicing which just don't fit us. So then a practice becomes this straitjacket where we actually don't create, where there's not more space for us, but it becomes smaller and smaller, and we become even so the kind of the spiritual path, which is supposed to open us and make us more flexible and joyful, becomes this, fear-based, guilt-based, I should kind of straitjacket, which makes us narrow-minded and also our hearts closes. So I hope during this weekend or today, if you stay today, that I, by chance, I say something which fits you, where you feel, yeah, that makes sense. And this is something I want to take. This is something I want to chew on, because I can feel the relief in it, or I can feel the space in it, or it gives me some rest. And then you take that, and the rest you leave. So he says, I now explain the practice of all bodhisattvas. So that's a kind of the promise to compose the text. But now we start the first practice. So the text can be divided in different ways, and one is, it starts with about 12 stanzas which describe the gradual path of awakening, Lam Rim in the Tibetan tradition. So Lam Rim, the Lam Rim literature. And those of you who have studied Discovering Buddhism or other Lam Rim based texts, you will recognize the basic themes of the reflections of the Lam Rim within the first 10, 12 stanzas. And then Togmay Sangpo goes into Lojong, transforming your attitude. So I mentioned one of them. These are the stanzas where he describes situations, for example, being slandered, where we tend to be reactive, and he gives us advice how to work with this kind of situation. And then there is the 6 perfections, the practice of the 6 perfections. And let's see what happens with how far we get. So Togmay Sangpo starts with, right now you have a good boat, fully equipped and available. So I said yesterday, one way to look at these lines is to listen to them as poems. So you get a sense of what is Togmay Sangpo describing? What kind of human experience is he describing? To use the images, to feel touched by them. Yeah. So this is, those of you who know the Lam Rim, so this is referring to a precious human life. So one way would be like to give you a list of the 8 freedoms, 10 endowments, and then you feel, wow, yeah, I know precious human life. You have memorized the 8 and the 10th, but you're not touched by it. You don't feel it. It remains just a knowledge. And that's not the point. We don't study Buddhism to know Buddhism. That could be a motivation. If you want to become a Buddhism professor or something like that, a scholar of Buddhism. So this is a different way. So it's using symbols. It's using poems to transmit an experience. So right now you have a good boat, fully equipped and available. Imagine. So imagine you stand at the harbor, Zürichsee. Is that connected with something else, or are you locked in it once you're on it? There's a river. Okay. So, but let's imagine it gives the opportunity to go to the Mediterranean Sea. Could be there's some channels. So and you have a good boat, like a really good boat, a fine boat, fully equipped. It's just ready to take off. Food is there, water is there, everything is there. It's perfect. It's all good things. Quality equipment. And it's yours. And you're standing there. You're looking back, your friends, the Netflix series you just started to watch. You just got to the 5th. Probably there will be 3 more seasons. Yeah, and then, the job, like, trying to be a good boy, a good girl, doing what your parents expected you to do, fitting in, also pension, health insurance, all this stuff. So security, yes. Relationships. And there it is, the fully equipped boat, ready to go on a journey. And you're standing there. And the teaching on precious human life is pointing to that. There it is. The perfect vessel, the human life. And part of that perfect vessel for us is the resources which we have available, but also that we have the teachings. So that's part of that perfect vessel, which we can step into and journey. But it's difficult. I don't think there's anyone who can lightheartedly just step into that boat and sail off, because we are so addicted to this illusion of security and agenda and success. So there is that tension, and many people never do it. We hesitate. We don't trust. It's also a matter of trust. Yeah, Togmay Sangpo, he lived like 800 years ago. He was Tibetan. They're probably more holy than me. So there is this lack of really like surrendering to the Buddha within. Hard to find, yeah. So it's fully equipped, but it's so difficult to find. I mean, once we have it, the images the Tibetans use, or the Indian tradition uses, to describe how difficult it is to be in the situation we are right now. They are amazing. It's almost impossible. We might get excited if we win like $6 million in a lottery. It's like we get all over excited. It's nothing compared to the precious human life. It's nothing. So, if we would really like go into this experience, we would be so happy to come here this morning. It's like, I imagine the happiness of winning $6 million times 100. And to find this situation we are in right now, it's much more unlikely than winning $6 million in the lottery. Much more unlikely. There is a long waiting list of beings who want to get here. I saw that some of you thought, is he serious? Yeah, so in the Tibetan tradition, in particular in the tantric, teachings, they say that having a human body and living in this mixture of terror and the possibility to love is the best place to awaken. That's why I say there's a long waiting list. Yeah. So if there's only terror, that's very difficult, because then we are swept away by it. And if there's only joy, that's even more difficult. because then we get, then we are just enjoying parties, and there's no interest in, there's no development. So it's actually better to have, to a bit more terror, a bit more suffering, because that keeps us looking for that which is bigger. So hard to find, to free yourself and others from the sea of samsara. So that's, so this boat, this fully equipped boat, has the potential to free yourself and others from the sea of samsara. So that's what this journey is about. It's not a sightseeing tour. Of course, for that, through study, you need to have an understanding what the cause of suffering is, and that there is that there's a path to be free of suffering. So to kind of, at least intellectually, to understand. That's very important, because this is, you put your whole cards onto this, like everything. Yeah. So you need to have an understanding of what you're doing. For people who come from a culture where like trust and faith and devotion is more natural, for them it's a bit easier. But for us it's so difficult, because we have a sense in different degrees that we can't trust anyone. We can't trust anyone. They all want to have money. They want to manipulate me. They want to make me part of a cult, or all kinds of suspicion. So we don't step into the boat because we don't trust the boat. And a lot of the teachings are, when you go into teachings like on the conceptual level, are about giving us the information, the rational information, why it is a good idea to step into the boat. And it is it's something one can understand. It's not like beyond. It's not like you don't need to study for 20 years. So day and night, constantly study, reflect, and meditate. Day and night, constantly. Now this is, these are these kind of instructions in the traditional text, which, they are like too much. We feel, oh shit, day and night, constantly study. So where's the break? It's like, I have so much on my plate. I want to have space, not more things to do. Yeah. So don't take these things literally. No, there is the Tibetan tradition. They exaggerate things. They use extreme metaphors, but it's not that they say it is like this. It's like a poet who wants to express his urgency, his passion, and then he says like 10 millions or 3 great eons or like hell, or all these words they use, but it's a way for the poet to express his experience, how he feels about it. And so if we would take this as what we should do, then it might be just an obstacle, instead of feeling it is a vision, it is something to align myself with. But then also, I think many people who have been around the teachings for a few years, like listening to teachings again, meditating a little, having some kind of practice, I think what you start to recognize is that the teachings and your practice is somehow there all the time. I mean, it's like, because it starts to go into your thinking. It starts to go into the way you look at things. And I think some people, they put too much, like they unnecessarily feel, oh, I'm such a bad practitioner. I'm far away from study, reflect, and meditate constantly, day and night. And that makes you feel like, I'm not practicing well. So you put another burden on your shoulders, and so instead to reflect, and I sometimes help people to do that they are actually in a way practicing all the time, because the way they look at things has changed. So if you, like, as someone who has trained in the Tibetan tradition, for example, and you watch a movie, it's a different kind of movie. You look at it differently. Yes, you also have the benefit of entertainment and relaxation, which is also important, the art to rest. Yeah, but also there is, you take something, or you see something, or yeah, that's impermanent, and this is precious human life. This is suffering by through attachment or something like that. So you look at the normal things in your life through a different pair of glasses. So, I mean, it took me a while. I don't know when I started to say that. Maybe about 10 years ago. So I can now say, and I'm just a beginner like you, but I can really say with confidence, I study, reflect, and meditate day and night constantly. I can't see the boundaries of my meditation practice. So when people would ask me, how many hours do you meditate every day? This question doesn't make sense to me. It also often comes from a narrow-minded definition of what meditation is. So day and night. So, if I feel crowded, if I feel failing, if I feel I can't, nothing works, yeah, still that is practicing, because I'm aware, wow, yeah, nothing works. That's what Togmay Sangpo is talking about, these situations in life when nothing works. So what can I do? Yeah. So then even not meditating for 3 months because you don't have time is part of practice, because you are aware, wow, I'm not meditating and it has this effect. So what is happening? Why don't I make the time for meditating? Is it even necessary? Does it even help my being a better person? So even then, or you get angry and you hurt someone you actually love. So also that is meditation, because you see it from a perspective of Dharma. So what can I do? I don't want to do it again. What is the reason for leashing out? What is it what I need? What is it what I can heal inside of me so that I don't do it again? So, and then if you have a narrow-minded view on practice, then you would feel, oh, I'm such a bad practitioner. I need to be more compassionate. And then you put more pressure instead of using that situation for your mindfulness practice. So I think it's really in reach. So I invite you to with confidence say, you say with confidence, I study, reflect, and meditate constantly, day and night. The night. So what does it mean with night? Yeah, first there is the importance of rest. This is one of the most important qualities of a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva knows how to rest. Do you know how to rest? Do you know how to give yourself a break, a genuine break? If not, make it a bodhisattva practice to learn that. Not only because as a bodhisattva you want to, have some energy, but also you become a good example. If you are stressed out, meditation teacher, teaching people to rest, and you're just about to get a heart attack. So you set an example. You show people how to go to a party and to rest, to have fun, to go dancing, to have a glass of wine. Yeah. Did I start something? I lost it. Yeah, that's okay. I just move on.
I think how to meditate at night.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one point. The other is, and it's so important, it has to be emphasized, probably particularly in Zurich. One of the best things you can do for your mental health and for your physical health is to sleep. It's like that. Also, one of the best things you can do for your compassion, nurturing compassion training. So part of each compassion training, so-called compassion training, it should be sleep. Because you will be a kinder person when you're well rested, when you eat well, when you do enough exercise, when you sleep. This is like eat well, sleep, exercise. This is like, that's more important than having 1 hour of meditation in the morning, definitely. Yeah. And then sometimes it happens when people find really deep places of rest in meditation that you just need less sleep. That can happen. But this kind of, wow, I only sleep 5 hours, I'm so productive. It's so silly.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm lately, or I would say also lots of times, I feel that when I sleep, I wake up rather confused.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might have nightmares, or
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I start thinking, oh, actually, when I'm awake, at least I can guide my thoughts. I can be aware. I can be conscious.
Mm.
But then I can't really relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
That you say, I'm well rested. This is something that helps me throughout the day.
Yes. Yeah. So first, we are all different. So there is not like one medicine for everyone. So I can acknowledge there's always. So that's what I said. We need to adapt what we hear to our needs. So this question would also lead to how to practice at night is how do you prepare for night? So if you have disturbed sleep, if nightmares coming up, that could be a sign that that kind of a ritual like a space before, like let's say the last hour before you go to sleep, that you make that a space of maybe doing a body scan, listening to a teaching, disconnect from social media, get away from the screens, maybe go for a walk, doing some exercise, look at the diet you have, how to eat. So in that way, the time before we go to sleep, will of course influence what is happening then in the night, and influence the dreams, and then also the way you wake up. And so that's what they say in the Tibetan tradition, that one can transform the dream life into something virtuous by incubating the kind of experiences, the journey we do through the night, by the way we go into the journey, by the way how we prepare to the journey. And then there is the whole thing with dream yoga, lucid dreaming. So that could be also part of the practice, to look into that. So it is possible with some training to maintain awareness through the different cycles, through falling asleep, even into the deep sleep, into the dreamless sleep, and then into the dream state. So that so that is a possibility to turn the night, the dreams into one's practice. And then if you have recurring nightmares, so or you don't sleep well, so something is bothering you. So what is that? What is the conflict inside? What is the tension? What is the inner tension in it? Is it the way I work? Is it am I in unbalance? Can I correct something? And then also, if it's like a deeper issue, because dreams are not only bringing up the stuff which is happening now in your life also, but usually they also connect us with conditionings from the past. So there's usually themes which quite often you can trace back into childhood. So so if you have any kind of problem, health problem, anxiety, depression, or some problems with sleeping, it's just, don't ignore it. So explore, learn from it. Try to do different things. Then, because it's not going away by itself. It's showing up, some inattention, some difficulties, maybe it shows in health, high blood pressure or something. And then the tendency could be to get some sleeping meditation or some blood pressure medication, like the quick fix. But as a practitioner, we can use that kind of experiences as signals. Hey, there's something to look at. And then as a bodhisattva, you do this journey of exploring, for example, difficult sleep, which is a big issue. It's not like personal, it's one of the major psychological problems in these times, that people have difficulty sleeping. So then your work with sleep is not only for yourself, but you learn things which you then can share with others. So that's the beautiful thing in the Bodhisattva attitude, that your own healing process and the exploration of what helps is something you do not only for yourself, but you also then do it because you can share something with your friends or in other areas. You want to say something? No.
Can I say something?
Yeah. Yes.
Is maybe I've been told that maybe the metta meditation before falling asleep helps.
Yeah. So it's there's different. So if I now would have a conversation with you, I mean, I use you just as an example. Then, so I would, kind of together explore. So what speaks to that person? So what is needed? Yeah. So because, as I said, we are so different, and not every medicine is helpful for every person at a certain point of one's life. So, but definitely, I mean, to somehow learn different practices with which you can bring more kindness into your experience. And having a challenge, for example, you can't sleep, we have difficulty sleeping, the most important starting point of healing here is to accept, to love. Yeah, so to introduce loving kindness into the situation, so that you don't beat yourself up because you can't sleep, or so something is wrong with me, something, and it's so bad I can't sleep, and I need to hide it because it's so shameful. So the loving kindness part, that takes care of almost most of it. Yes, so any questions to this precious human life?
I mean, it sounds like stepping into the boat requires renunciation, and that's a big challenge, to turn around and leave your social health insurance and your friends and what you like about what attracts you about the samsara, and renunciation. That's such a big challenge for me, anyways. That's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, it depends also a bit what you mean with renunciation. So, so renunciation in the three yanas has very different connotation. So when people use the three yanas, Shravaka yana, Mahayana, Tantra yana. Yeah, so it's like a way to divide the teachings of the Buddha. So, and when people say renunciation, they often mean the renunciation of the Shravakayana, which means like, turning away from the things which are joyful. Yeah. But in the Tantrayana, it's different, because in the Tantrayana, we open the possibility to use the joy in sensual pleasure in the path. Yeah. So, and so that would mean you don't leave the parties behind if you like them. That would be the Shravakayana. Yeah, so there's attachment. So let's turn away from the parties and go into the boat. Yeah, and then the monk and nun is the ideal expression of that. But in the Tantrayana, we would explore how to use the joy of dancing and connecting and listening to music and the vitality in it for awakening. So then it's not the renunciation of the party, it's the renunciation of all the contamination, which actually makes all these parties, I mean, we know how it is, I mean, probably we are in the age where we have left parties behind, but in our 20s, it's always like a disappointment, or most of the time, like, yeah, you can go to a party and it's so, but yeah, probably you know what I mean. So now, as a tantric practitioner, you would not turn away from pleasure, but you would ask the question, and you would learn practices to transform the pleasure and to kind of free the pleasure from the contamination of grasping. Because the party is not the problem. The exaggeration, this addiction to feel good, this kind of excitement, happiness, which just takes you away from your inner life. So that's the problem. But joy and dancing and vitality and connecting with others, that's not a problem. That's life's energy, and it can be used. And then also, maybe here that this metaphor is not so helpful, because it sounds like a bit you leave, so like you literally leave, and you leave your pension plan and your health insurance behind. I think for us that's only maybe even helpful or wholesome for very few people. So for us, the question is more how to turn the life as it is now into this journey, to see the life where I am, my relationship, my family, my job. How can I turn that into this journey with this boat? So the journey with this boat, or this boat, is not like separated from our life as it is. It doesn't mean that we need to be dissatisfied with having a relationship, but we can confidently take the seat as a practitioner right there in the office space in Zurich. So that would be more helpful for us, also because it is needed in these times. And then also we need to be like realistic, or it's a good idea to have a health insurance, because it's even a good. I don't have a pension plan, but it's I don't know. I think it's a good idea to have, for the benefit of everyone. So it's the working on the attitude, working on the view, rather than feeling I need to become a monk or a nun and I need to do 3 years of retreat. So instead, one could ask the more challenging question: how can I be a bodhisattva in an intimate relationship, having kids and having a career? How can I be a bodhisattva there? This is almost the more interesting question. And it's damn difficult. In the Tibetan tradition, they say that kind of sparks of bodhicitta within a hostile environment of a company, any company, a spark of bodhicitta is much more worth, or it's much more powerful than like a big awakening at the time of the Buddha as a monk. The experience in itself is not so dramatic, but it's more worth. A little light in big darkness is really precious than adding light to a lot of light. So, it's try to take your seat as a confident practitioner within the challenges of our kind of life, and be proud about it. Okay, so then second, and then what's the time? Okay, we have a break soon. Let's do a short break. So let's go to 2. Attraction to those close to you catches you in its currents. Aversion to those who oppose you burns inside. Indifference that ignores what needs to be done is a black hole. Leave your homeland. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. leave your homeland. Yeah. So that's also like, leave your homeland. So you notice what happens. Yeah? Fear, yes, leave my homeland. Yeah, so different responses to that. Leave your homeland. This reminds me of one. I had this teacher. He was a former Sikh, the Indian religion with the turbans, and he became a monk in a monastery of His Holiness. But he was this kind of Sikh warrior type, big man, like coming from a family of spiritual warriors. And he said, you have to practice like the Mongolian warriors. When they enter the land of the enemy, they burn the bridges behind them. So there's no way back. And personally, I like that. I like that kind of warrior language, which also Shantideva, particularly the masters who came from the warrior class, they have that kind of language. They have this kind of values, of the warrior, and they use images from battle and stuff like this. And I like it. It speaks to me. Like, you just go forward and you burn the bridges behind. And so this is talking about the three. How are they called? The three. I can think only about words I don't like. So there is, as I said yesterday, there is an immediate, the root cause for our struggle, for our suffering, is ignorance, being out of touch with reality. But then from ignorance, they come the two. From ignorance comes the grasping, and there's two kinds of grasping. The rejection, I don't like this, and I like that. So these are the two grasps. And it's this two grasping, which is the immediate cause of suffering. It's an immediate cause of stress. So whatever struggle you have in your life, the root cause is ignorance, but the immediate cause in the moment is the grasping which comes from that ignorance. And so Shantideva, Togmay Sangpo points to these three, and then he says, leave your homeland. So step out of, find a way out of your reactivity. So again, leave your homeland. This is not, if at least from our point of view, I don't think it's helpful to see that as the renunciation of the Shravakayana, like to become the monk or the nun, leaving into the cave, leaving everything behind. Here, leave your homeland is more, the inner condition which makes you feel safe. Just, patterns and habits which you have adapted to in childhood and which keep you in a cage, and it feels safe because we know it. It sucks, but it feels safe because it's familiar. So leave the homeland here is to dare to dare to be aware of those constricting patterns and to move into the unknown. Meaning in a way of being which is new. Yeah. So to kind of break out of this pattern. Oh, this is who I am. I'm a bit grumpy. I get a bit nervous around people. So that's homeland. Yeah. It's like the identification with this conditioned patterns, in identification with this fear. So, yeah, this is who I am. I'm a bit shy. I always have been shy, and it's because my father and my mother, and I have understood this, and it's really sad inside of here, but it's safe. It's home. It's my homeland. I'm a shy person. Yeah. So leave your homeland would be to explore the unknown territory of, let's say in shyness, for example, you go into, you don't go into a silent vipassana retreat. Yeah. Because there you can just hide in the silence and it feels comfortable. It sucks, but it feels comfortable because you know it. Yeah? And you're not challenged. You're not challenged in that pattern. So instead you go into a contact improvisation dance workshop. Yeah. So that would be leaving your homeland. Your homeland, where you feel comfortable because it's familiar, and then there's this, movement, dancing, and even touching others, and I'm so scared of this, yeah. And then you leave your homeland and you move towards that which makes you bigger. So try to, I give stupid advice, but I can't help myself. Try to push a bit. Stay a bit on the edge. If a certain practice, a certain environment, a certain teachings makes you comfortable, so I'm doing this, and it feels really comfortable. There's not much change, but they say it takes 3 great eons, so. And I'm counting my mantras, and, so that, so that not much happens. So you push out of your comfort zone. Not too much, because then you get into a panic attack, or kind of that's you even more contact. But a little, I like this pith instruction of Magchik Laptrin. Go to the places which scare you. Touch what you find disgusting. And help the people you think you can't help. That's leaving your homeland. And doing it with the intention to be of service. To grow as a person, to be of service. Yeah, and so it's good to be a shy person, it's wonderful. But if you want to be of service, then it could be good that you also feel more comfortable with more extroversion. And if you're a very a person who's very, this is just an example, then you might want to cultivate more of the introvert aspect, of the quiet aspect, not needing to say something, or being heard or being seen. So you make yourself comfortable. You leave the homeland of your conditioning and you make the journey into the unknown land. Okay, so let's have a break. 15 minutes. In the Tibetan tradition, there are different meditative techniques, which is wonderful, but it can be also a bit challenging because it seems to be so much. And one of the techniques is what is called analytical meditation. And analytical meditation, another word would be maybe contemplation. So this is a practice of using the conceptual mind, using reasonings, using images to lead into insights, like aha experiences, like, yeah. And like insights which really change something. So it's not just, okay, now I have understood it, but it's like this epiphany, like this, yeah, wow, I haven't, yeah. And so it also comes with a felt sense in your body, like, so it's kind of, you bring it from the, yeah, okay, yes, I have to die, I know, into like, yeah, but what does that mean? Yeah, I have to die. Wow. So that's completely different, because then it starts to make a difference in your life. In the precious human life, the contemplation of the precious human life is one of them. And traditionally, it's divided into these 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. And I will pick just a few of them. So you can listen to what I say and have a bit of your own reflection onto it, but then see that you stay connected with your body, with the way it feels, so that you get a sense of the preciousness of this moment, that you feel it, not only think, yeah, this moment is precious, I know, but that you feel it. And of course, we can't force it, we can't push it. I mean, you can't like, so it's not like that you fail this meditation if you don't come to this epiphany. It's a bit of a journey, and you are curious about what arises. So when someone says to you, for example, you should be grateful about this and this and that, you could actually have a response of anger, or you could have a response of sadness, or you could have the response, yeah, I know, but somehow I can't feel it. Yeah, and that's then the result of the meditation, and it is an insight. So let's play with that, like 15-20 minutes, and let's start by making this shift again, or allowing this shift to happen into a more meditative awareness, adjusting the posture, not too sloppy, not too tight. If you like, you can close your eyes. If you keep your eyes open, they stay relaxed and open without particularly looking at something. And you allow your awareness to drop into the body. Allowing the mind to settle. Maybe you want to pay a light attention to the in and out breath, so you have a bit of an anchor. You can also shortly call upon the clarity of the morning. And And whatever is there for you, so whatever your experience is right now, you just bring it along. So you don't need to leave things behind, or you don't need to be calmer. You just bring your own energy along. And we can start the contemplation right there, with the breath. I'm breathing, I'm alive. Maybe you can remember or imagine situations where you struggled with the breath and the relief and joy of just being able to breathe like we do now. And there's something mysterious, beautiful, amazing in awareness of breath. I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm aware. And we are breathing together. And then we can include hearing, seeing. So you all can hear this voice. Maybe you saw some videos of people who for the first time saw something or heard the joy of something which we don't appreciate because we take it for granted. So by just paying attention to it, it might be possible to come into that place of wonder, seeing, hearing. We all could walk here, walking. So you can't push or force that appreciation, but reflecting like this can maybe open that space, that childlike wonder, that awe of being a conscious being, breathing, listening, seeing, moving the body. Appreciating the aliveness of this moment. Even if what you feel or hear or see is not that great. So here in this kind of contemplation, so it's of course it's part of this to have a bit of a conceptual reminders, a bit of a self-dialogue, gently guiding your mind, your heart into an appreciation. You stay connected with your body, with your breath. So the part of the fully equipped boat is what I just described. And next is, here we all have water today. Probably also tomorrow. Very likely. Not sure, but probably. And we have food. And we have shelter. So, see if that can gently guide you into an appreciation. Water, and just open the tap, just take a shower. Food. And we all know where we are going to sleep tonight. So that's also part of the fully equipped boat. Then if your mind goes into other stuff, you gently come back to the breath, and then maybe you can pick one of those I mentioned, maybe just the words, food, water, shelter, can trigger a sense of gratitude or appreciation. So guiding into the experience that you are never poor, that you are really rich. So then another point is if you connect with the movements of your heart, you can feel the potential to be kind and to receive care. So there is this precious space to have friends and to be a friend. To have people who support you. The wonder, the warmth of friendship, which you are capable to experience. it's worth to live for. Appreciating the softness in your heart. So you can think about your dog or some friends, if you have children, or your partner, friends. The connectedness with other people is so beautiful, so precious. And you have it, it's part of the fully equipped boat. This fundamental, basic human quality. So precious. And then the last point I want to mention, part of the precious human boat, is that we have access to teachings, that there are places like this, mornings like this. Here in this case, particularly the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, but think about all the teachings also from other traditions, which we have access to, which you have access to. Not only the books, but also the videos and meeting teachers, meeting fellow practitioners. That's so amazing, that's so precious. Could be a source of a gentle happiness every day to know that you find the jewel, you found the jewel. And more specific even to date, the teachings of Togmay Sangpo, the Bodhisattva practice, the Bodhisattva path. That's so amazing. That you are somehow drawn to that. How fortunate we are. So these are some of the characteristics of the fully equipped boat. Awareness, being conscious, food, water and shelter, the capacity to love, and then having access to the teachings. whatever speaks to you particular, you feel a response, you rest with that. Gently sliding into appreciation, joy. Of your precious, unique human life. A precious, unique moment. I mean, on this planet it's not getting better than this. You made it. So the breath and spacious aliveness is being here. For having this precious boat, what do you want to use it for? Knowing death is coming, what is important in your precious wild life? And then we stay a few minutes with whatever is there for you. Allowing whatever arises to arise. other practices, also this, of course, needs to have some some space for exploration and testing and finding your own way with working with contemplation. Does not need to be in a kind of formal meditation practice, so that would be also something which would be possible to do while you go for a walk or but imagine you would kind of have 3 months, let's say 3 months, where every morning you kind of take 10-15 minutes to reflect in a similar way now I did. And those of you who know the traditional way, you notice how I try to put it into words which are meaningful for me. So you can recognize the points, but the language I use or the example I use, they are very personal. So this was not kind of the way to do it. It was just showing you there's room for creativity and making it meaningful for you and working with images and experiences which are personal to you, so that it's meaningful. But imagine you would do that 3 months, yeah, like every day, and then maybe you have a little card or something on your phone throughout the day. It reminds you food, shelter, water. Yeah. Then every hour, food, water, shelter. Dalai Lama, yeah? Something like that. So food, water, shelter, Dalai Lama. I can walk. Yeah? So, and then you start to notice that something changes. You start to see the world differently. You not just take a shower, yeah, but it's like, wow, water. Yeah. Or you the part of appreciating the teachings and having access to these different spiritual traditions, of course, that grows more deeper you go into the different traditions. The more you appreciate the preciousness. So that's also when Togmay Sangpo says day and night. Yeah? So study, reflect, and meditate. When you do a reflection like this for a certain period of time, I notice that now. For example, I take care of my mother, and she's losing her eyesight and her hearing, and she struggles with breathing. She has a radius of 50 meters now. And being with that and helping her makes this, a moment where I connect with my breath, or a moment I can see. My mother, she would freak out, if she suddenly could read again. She loves to read, but she can't anymore. So now I pick up a book and it's like, reading, but it's like, wow. So, and in that way, being with my mother and having this kind of experiences falls into that reflection. So I'm meditating or reflecting the whole time. So are there any questions so far about what I said? Or I stopped with the first three, which is about what is called sometimes the three poisons, but it's a horrible word because they are also allies. And one of the main directions in the text is to be aware. So what does that mean with the three poisons? To be aware. Yeah, so to be aware of the grasping. And how can we find more space within that? I give you a personal example. A little story about my life. Some people can remember stories the best, particularly when they are personal. I in the break I was thinking, I can't choose something which is really embarrassing. So I tried to find like a middle thing. So one of the poisons you could call, the movements, the conditioning which constricts our heart is envy. Yeah. So I'm a meditation teacher. Yeah. So that's my kind of job. And what is a meditation teacher envious about? Other meditation teachers. Yeah. So these are the, how does he call it? I have to go back. So attraction to those close to you catches you in its currents, so that's the grasping. Aversion to those who oppose you burns inside. This is like when you hear and you allow yourself to touch by these verses, you can recognize, aversion to those who oppose, to those who oppose you burns inside. It's like it burns inside. Envy burns inside. Jealousy burns inside. It's so horrible to feel like that. It burns. Yeah. So leave your homeland. What does that mean? Yeah. Many different approaches. So here, becoming aware, becoming lovingly aware. So what does it mean? I notice envy comes up. So I see certain teachers, or I hear other people talking about teachers. I see maybe they are more successful, or people are drawn to them. People I built up, groups I built up, they exclude me, and then there's another more sexy guy who's somehow stupid, but nobody sees it. So there is that. Maybe that depending on your profession, like you look at websites of other people, and it looks also glossy, or they get the exhibition or the prize, or they are more successful, they have more clients, things like that. So so I get it, something, I get an information, something happens, or on emails or on the web, on the internet. So I have this reaction, contraction, I envy. It burns inside. A very unskilled way to work with this is to deny it, to kind of say, I shouldn't feel like that. So I could also, like, I notice it, and then I could say, wow, I'm a meditation teacher. I'm not supposed to be envious about teachers. That's a very bad sign. It's actually the sign that I'm not a qualified meditation teacher. I shouldn't have this feeling. Yeah? And that's exactly, that's suffering. So you start to make a problem out having, you start to make a problem out of the fact that you have feelings, that there's processes happening all the time which are outside of your control. It's conditioned. You can't make a decision. Yeah, I have understood envy is not good and I should always rejoice. Yeah? That doesn't work. Because these conditioning, they are so deep and so strong, they arise. So then there's also, some people then try to, it's even possible for us to be so good at denial that we don't feel it anymore. And it still makes us act in certain ways or talk about, so I could pretend that I'm not envious about teachers, but it sneaks into the way I talk about others. And I'm not even aware of it. The other option is, which we then choose sometimes, is to see this in others. You are surrounded by all these people who are envious. And this pretending. We pretend. This is dangerous when you are in a teaching position or in a leading position. That you choose that you pretend, you build up a facade, an image, like an Instagram profile of how you want to be as a teacher. And some people are fooled by that. Yeah. So here are the invitation or the exploration in Togmay Sangpo's text is, so the condition happens, so the response happens. There is envy, and I'm aware of it. I notice it. I see the impermanence. I allow it. I keep a loving gaze which also is imbued with wisdom. So I see the impermanence. I see this is not me. This is not mine. I have not chosen to be envious in this moment. There's certain psychological reasons, genetic reasons, and so on and so on, why this arises. This is not me. This is not mine. And it comes and goes. And I can be lovingly aware. So, and that's it. I don't apply an antidote. I don't add something to it. I feel the envy completely. I'm completely aware of what is happening. I know it in my body. I'm curious about it. And it comes and it passes. And what is left is then an appreciation. Because that's also there. Because a part of me, of course, is happy about anyone who's making this world a better place. So that's also there. That's not something I need to make up. It's there. I appreciate all the all the stuff people do, in all traditions and in all. So that is also there, and it can come forth once this attack of envy passes through me. So now when you apply that to to the currents which which contract you in your life, so you become aware, you notice it, you feel it in the body, you notice, oh, this is not me, I am aware of it, I'm bigger than that, and I'm human, I have feelings. So there is that compassion in it, yeah. It's like, or humor also, Then I feel like, oh yeah, so it's amazing. I mean, it's like, wow, envy, it's like it's still happening, yeah, and I don't need to hide it, at least for myself. No, at least I tried not to be the goody boy in front of myself. And then, if I do that, I get this softness towards the human existence. In this case, mine, yeah, my like the most immediate human existence which I can experience. It's like this softness. It's like, yeah, there again, yeah. It's like you have that Dalai Lama smile, yeah, towards your own stuff coming up. And also then, it prevents me to say stupid things like, don't be envious about other teachers. I don't need to tell that other people. It's stupid to say this. Yeah? With a kind of self-righteousness, pretending that I'm never envy about others. So I don't need to do that. And so that's like, I don't need to make other people feel guilty about something I experience. And there's a lot of stuff happening like that. That we, pretend to be someone else, and then our communication becomes inauthentic and manipulating and spreading guilt and shame and duty into the life of other people. Yes.
For me, it's quite relieving to hear your approach, but then I also get a bit confused because I thought that, when you have envy, then you should apply the antidote, and for me that also ends up in guilt, and it doesn't really help. But
yeah, so yeah.
So is that also for certain people the antidotes work and for others not?
No, it doesn't work. It's provisional, and it's. I mean, I mentioned Shantideva. In the 9th chapter, he starts with saying, "Okay, we looked at all this wonderful stuff like patience and so on, and now." He says, it's actually not what this is about. It does not really work. All this is being taught for the sake of wisdom. So all these provisional teachings of applying antidotes and so on, if they are practiced in a good way, which is difficult, because most of the time, particularly when as Westerners we receive these teachings, it's more like what you say. It makes it more, we become unpleasant people. It's like we are Buddhist practitioner, but we become more unpleasant people because we are more judgmental. But I mean, it's a bit exaggerated when I say they don't work, because we can also explore how can we benefit from these kind of teachings, like the practice of rejoicing. Yeah, is a way to do the practice of rejoicing without it becoming a straitjacket and feeling shameful about not rejoicing. But here we explore the transformative power of loving awareness. So what you are lovingly aware of, with a bit of wisdom, even if it's just the wisdom of seeing the impermanence, the non-static nature of everything, that liberates you from that conditioning. So if I have an attack of envy, and I notice it with the loving gaze, with wisdom, seeing the impermanence and seeing this is not me, this is not mine, then this envy stops to govern my behavior. Yeah. I don't need to do anything with it because it comes and goes and then it's gone. So this is, for me, the most, much more liberating, much more relieving than calling envy and poison and then getting uncomfortable with it, seeing it as the bad guy, and then trying to control it, trying to suppress it, and trying to manipulate it into something else through antidotes. And also, when you apply an antidote, what you also imply is that there is a problem, there is something you want to get rid of. So you might even solidify envy into something which it isn't. So instead of opening it, you kind of close it and you make it more real than it actually is. And then from the tantric perspective, one would even go a step further and explore, because in the tantric perspective, you would acknowledge that in all these currents, which are called poisons, there is a wisdom aspect. There's a jewel hidden inside. And that's difficult to so in this example, like if that, in the envy there is an energy, yeah, can be quite strong actually. Wow, it's like, if we would be passionate in the same way about kindness, yeah, so we can be really captured by it. So the envy arises. I am aware, this is not me, this is not mine, it's impermanent. I give space, I'm right there, I notice. And in that moment, I also connect with others. Yeah, because I'm aware that I'm experiencing a conditioning which we share. That's also why I never believe someone who says, I don't judge people. Most of the time it's bullshit. Unless there's, I don't know if there's people who are above all of that. I don't think so. But So for me, it's like, okay, you don't judge other people. I guess that means you don't come close to those you don't like. Then it's easy not to judge people. So I'm connecting. So the work with my envy or being with my envy is not personal. It's being with the envy of all of us and marveling and feeling it and trying to understand it. What's the wound behind? What is it? What I mean, I'm envious about, for example, I'm sometimes envious about teacher, and I don't want to be like that at all. And I don't want even to teach there where they teach, and I'm still envious. So that's interesting. So then I can reflect, and the sympathy or the kindness I experience to my own inner life then spreads, because then I say, that's all this torture people go through by looking at Instagram. It's so sad. And it's all fake. It's not real. So, but then transforming the energy. So, and what I kind of experience is like after, and an attack like this, if you are really present and you feel it completely, lasts about 2-3 minutes. Probably shorter even. Yeah. So there's a judgment, well, something like, oh, she's too fat or something like that. That it's very quickly gone. It's like, okay, you feel it, and you don't need to do anything. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means that you're human. And then it comes and goes. So, and what happens then, particularly if it's a strong envy, it's like the energy in it, the aliveness in it becomes available. And I have this, sometimes I have a sense that the rejoicing then which arises is somehow more, it's more alive. That this is how it feels to me. Because I don't go into an inner conflict, and I don't kind of demand my inner life to rejoice. But I trust into the natural goodness which is also there, and then which then can come forward. So it's like, if I look at a website and I notice envy and I do this, what's left is somehow that appreciation. I don't need to tell myself, so now you do rejoicing. It's wonderful what he does, and no, it's very authentic then. So this is something you can also experiment with desire. So a desire comes up to a person, or to food or something like that, and instead of calling it a poison, making it an enemy, or I shouldn't enjoy this attachment. Chocolate is a very dangerous thing, and. And I'm not supposed to enjoy chocolate because it's attachment. So instead, to use this method, so you are aware of the desire. You drop into the body. You give space. You notice the energy. You make yourself bigger. So you become the loving awareness. And what you then can notice is that the vitality in the desire, the presence in the desire, becomes available to you. Like, maybe you know this. from when you see a very attractive person of the opposite sex. So instead of, oh, I shouldn't feel like that, I shouldn't be attracted to others, or this is bad, this is desire. So instead, if you enjoy that, the beauty, and you allow the attraction to be there, but you make yourself bigger. And then you can feel how that vitality in that becomes available to you. There is a change in your presence. You're more present. Not like this, yeah? But the other person became a bit of a trigger. Do you know what I'm talking about? I have discovered that already as a little boy, that was the trick I made. I used to like to go to class. I just fell in love with one of the girls there, and then I used that for the presence in the class, for the vitality in the class. The same is with anger. Yeah. Anger has a kind of bad reputation on the Shravakayana level, and that leads to this suspicion towards anger. Anger is bad. The shame around it, and again this pretending, the fake Buddhist smile. Yeah, we're also nice, and but in the back we slender, or at least internally. So anger is, in this perspective, is also, there is a pleasure aspect. So there is the aspect which makes us self-righteous and exaggerating the bad qualities of the person and actually wanting to harm that person. Yeah? But there is also, in anger, there is also the wisdom aspect of clarity, of knowing something needs to be done, that boundaries have been crossed, that you might need to speak up or defend yourself and others. So that's the wisdom aspect of anger. So you get angry, you get irritated, you make yourself bigger, you are aware, you get familiar with the color, the texture of anger, you lose the fear of anger, and then you learn slowly to, so it comes, it does its thing, you neither suppress nor act out, and then this energy and the wisdom in anger becomes available for you in the next moment. And then you don't need to react to the situation, so you are not a slave of the reactivity. So instead you use the energy in the anger or in the desire or in the jealousy, whatever it is, to respond to the situation more from the Bodhisattva, from your Bodhisattva heart. So responding instead of reacting. It's too late to apply an antidote to something which is already there. So any questions to that? Yeah.
So maybe it's something to do with what you said about this homeland, because it seems to me that I don't want to experience bad feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I have an aversion.
Yeah.
And good feelings, yes, those I want.
Mm.
When I'm kind, when I'm happy, this I like. And and okay, then there is this also what the text says, this dull feelings. And so it's always this dance between these sort of neutral aversion, good feeling. So how can we get rid of this wish to feel good?
Yeah.
Sort of this strong preference and anger, envy, this is all negative, we shouldn't be experiencing it, and we should do something about it. And sometimes it's also almost physical, because fear, anger can cause physical sensations that are extremely unpleasant.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, that is the scare for me, that I feel sort of the physical energy in it. So how can we get rid of this wish to have always these lovely feelings? Because like you said, it's part of the human experience. Most probably I'm not gonna get away from them.
Right. Yeah, that's an excellent question. If I have the answer, then I will be a very famous teacher. Yeah, so that's really it's almost like it's such a profound exploration just to ask the question. And kind of to start that journey of liberating ourselves from the need to feel good. Yeah. And how, I mean, the most profound answer is, to the realization of emptiness. Yeah. But in the meantime, the starting point is to work with the need to feel good and noticing the desire also in meditation, for example. You start to see, wow, it's so dominated by my addiction to feel good, my meditation practice. It's almost like I sit down to feel good, and if I don't feel better throughout the meditation, I feel the meditation is not working, or I'm doing something wrong. So the beginning is to become aware of it, yeah, and to see, wow, now, there's the grasping. Right now, I try to manipulate my experience, so I try to suppress something which I don't like in my experience, and I try to get something which I want, and this is the grasping. So, and by seeing it, that's the first step to be liberated from it. So you don't ask the question, how can I be rid of this? How can I get rid of it? You ask the question, how can I be with this in a loving way? How can I even grow my wisdom with noticing that grasping, which is instinctive? So it's unrealistic to say, I can get rid of it. I mean, it's like in our, I mean, it's when did life start on this planet? Many billions or millions, I don't know, but a long time ago.
4.6.
What?
4.6 billion years.
So that grasping exists on this planet since 4.6 billion years. It's in every our cell.
And it's also survival instinct.
Yes, it's connected with that.
If I feel good, I'm more probable. Its probability of surviving is better.
That's right. It had a huge advantage for the survival rate. Yeah. So it's unrealistic that we can somehow get this out of our system. But what we can do is to be aware, to notice it coming, and to see I'm not this urge. So yes, there is the urge to feel good in my meditation, but it does not need to be the king of the meditation. I don't need to kind of, I obey, I want to feel good in the meditation. That's why I meditate. So we can relax that. And so sometimes I also said it this morning or yesterday. Sometimes I say when I guide a meditation, so when you notice that you want to get rid of something or you want to get something, relax that grasping. And then sometimes I say, like you would open a fist. So it's difficult to explain exactly what to do, and maybe it's also different for every person. But in our body, in our heart, there is that capacity to let go. And don't ask now how, yeah? Because there is, I mean, this is not something like someone can tell you this and this is how you do. But it's like experimenting, yeah? So how can I, so like, so I notice there is some discomfort in my knee to the sitting, and I notice how that I try to a technique to get rid of it. Yeah. So, and then you get the instruction, okay, relax the grasping, and then suddenly you notice something shifts, like you kind of, yeah, this is really suffering. I try to get rid of something, and I start to worry, and there's all the resistance around it, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and my mind goes like this, and it's a horrible meditation session. And then you remember no grasping, and then you realize, this is what I do. And then you kind of, you can maybe open your awareness again. You notice that there's more happening, or you lessen this kind of trying to push there, or so that's relaxing the grasping. And not even, I mean, to be free of grasping, that's like an ideal. But to reduce the grasping a little tiny bit, that's fantastic. I mean, it's one thing to be in hell with discomfort in your body. Yeah, to be in hell because it shouldn't be there. Why me? It will be like this forever, and so on, worrying, and so on and so on, and to just have discomfort, and find a place of peaceful coexistence with discomfort. This is also something to reflect upon, because, I mean, that can help. First, and this is also a part of the attitude training of Togmay Sangpo, is that you increase your curiosity towards discomfort, towards difficult feelings. Like, you become fascinated by it. Like, because you start to understand, you start to see and experience that it's the places of discomfort where that which really matters can grow. So, and that doesn't mean that we also look into joy and fun. That's also important. Yeah. So there is this extreme people who then go, sitting with the discomfort, going to the places which scare you, and it's like, that's not what I mean, yeah. So we also see, so we become more relaxed and curious and open to the whole thing. To joy and warm-heartedness and connection, but also through fear and sadness and grief and despair. And it's like the whole, and to acknowledge that wanting things to be better and wanting to and move something in you moves towards comfort, to just accept, yeah, this is how it is. That's how we are all. It's a big conditioning, but it doesn't need to. I don't need to be a slave of it. I can step. I don't need to let this guy drive. No, this guy who just wants to be cozy and maybe not feel anything. Yeah, so that guy is there, but I don't need to make him drive the car. I let the Dalai Lama drive the car. I mean, the inner Dalai Lama. So talking about, through the teachings, through reflection, through your own experience, to become equally interested in the difficult experiences. And also understanding, as long as your meditation practice is about feeling good, you have not even entered there needs to be then 20 verses before this text. You have not even entered the path of the practitioner. You would do just what everyone do. You practice yoga to feel better, you do this to feel better. That's what we all do. It's not spiritual practice. It's fine and it's appropriate. It's nothing wrong with that. But it's not spiritual practice. If our spiritual practice is about feeling good, then that's not spiritual practice. And it sneaks in. Yeah, because it is instinctual. Something in us moves towards comfort. And at one point there's also, at one point you get tired of it. It's like, again a retreat where I walk from one lunch to the next, the highlight of the day, the lunch break. And the rest is like, enduring. It's like, also, kind of having a bigger perspective to I'm not saying it is like that. So this is like a perspective which can open this, and that is having a sense, having an insight that I already had all these nice things. I already had that Tesla countless times. And here I am, still being dissatisfied. So there is a bit of like giving up the hope that any Tesla in any universe will bring me home. So then it ceases to be so important to be comfortable.
Because it can be also tiring to make sure that you always feel good.
It's very exhausting.
Even in my physical body, I have to look that it's not cold, it's not warm,
Yeah.
that I'm fair.
Yeah.
It can be a quite tiring job.
Yeah, that's why we are so exhausted. Yeah. And so in the Buddhist cosmology, we are doing this since beginningless time.
Oh.
So there is, at one point there is this I said it before. It's like you lose a bit interest in it, not because you feel it's bad or something like. It's just you lose interest, and then a big part of becoming more interested in finding a peaceful, loving coexistence with discomfort in meditation, in daily life, is because you start to see that is actually the source of genuine compassion. Genuine compassion really grows from your ability to be with your own discomfort, with your own pain. Also, like some people feel like compassion is this wonderful cozy thing, like it's a compassion. It's so, everyone likes compassion, but compassion is difficult because it's like bittersweet. There's both. Because it really literally means that you're open to the pain of other people as if they are their own pain. And it is actually your pain. The pain of this world is your pain. It's not like as if it is, because this planet is our body. Yeah, and that's where then a genuine compassion can grow. So being with your discomfort, with your in, how is it called? Quote unquote, or I don't know. Like with your, yeah? So be like, let's say you have a life of trying to find a peaceful coexistence with anxiety. Yeah. This is an honorable journey. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a waste of time. Not at all. And it's not about getting to a place of no anxiety. It's also the journey of learning. So what are different ways to be with this? So that kind of journey, being with, or depression, or being with anxiety and finding a way with it, moving towards it, not like fanatically. So being with anxiety means also to learn to, look somewhere else in your life. But so then going towards anxiety, embracing it, finding a place of being with it. That makes your life meaningful, because this is not private. You are working on the anxiety we all share. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It's it could be that the people who kind of dedicate a few years of their life, or 20, 30 years of their life, because they have no choice to work with something like that, they do it for all of us. Because we are not separate. If you battle with anxiety in the night and you can't sleep, that's not your anxiety. My anxiety, and I'm the only one. By trying your way to live with it and be with it and heal it and love and so on, that's your gift. That's your contribution.
How do you know we're all connected?
Isn't it? How do I know? It's like, how do I know that, like the river and the rain, that they are a system and that they are connected with each other, and that a cloud does not exist like out of itself. And so I think it's like observing, noticing that everything affects everything, and that you can't take anything on this planet out of the everything and say, oh yeah, here, look, because when you look, then you find interconnectedness, you find open systems.
That makes sense to me.
Mm.
But just the feeling that maybe, okay, I experience right now sadness. So,
Mm.
and I'm here in Switzerland, Zurich. So this sadness is connected to somebody else or a bunch of people feeling sad in South America at the moment. Just this idea feels
it's, I mean,
very far away
from
what I experienced.
Yeah. I don't feel I mean, I can acknowledge the kind of that which feels personal. Yeah. Like, okay, this is my sadness and is very specific. But so if we would now talk about your sadness, and I would talk about my sadness, and we would talk about sadness as a human experience, and we would talk, and then we would maybe discover, part of my sadness is actually not about losing my job, it's actually about the condition of this planet. So, and then the experience, then we could kind of come to a place where it feels like, and it's experience like that we both look at sadness. It has a bit specific words and stuff there in that kind of system, and a different slightly, but there is a big overlap. So, and then if I am someone who has developed a loving kindness towards sadness and is not afraid of sadness, then I bring it into this communication. And you can benefit from that. Because I'm not afraid of your sadness. Because I'm willing to touch it in myself. And when I touch my sadness, I touch your sadness. It's because it's a common human experience. And now not even talking about the possibility that actually our awareness is not as separate as it seems to be. So that would be very difficult for a rational materialist. But that's is kind of part of my worldview. That mind is not something localized in the brain, or consciousness, or awareness. But that's how do I know that? Because the Dalai Lama says so? I don't know. And it is actually my experience. Yeah, so I don't experience awareness as something boundary kind of in my skull. So but of course I can't really explain it so that it would fit a rational materialist. This kind of interconnected system thinking, nobody can argue with that. Yeah? But the nature of consciousness, that's a bit difficult for some. That we are literally not separate. That if I do a prayer, if I have a gesture of love towards my inner life, that everyone is affected by it. That's difficult to explain in materialistic, rational terms. But it's fun to think like that for me.